Yeah. There we go. I see, very good. Hello. Yeah. Okay.
You introduce and then I'll start talking.
Okay, yeah. So as we said, we're doing this session now about online safety. If you have any questions, please, there are times throughout the presentation where it says any questions, please ask us. We might not necessarily have all the answers, but we'll certainly try our best, and if not, we'll find out or point them in the right direction. So Mr. Bright's going to talk through now some of the issues that we have with young children nowadays, the positives and the negatives. Okay.
I'm just going to make this bigger so you can see. Okay, this is just a brief overview of what children are taught in school about online safety. So Key Stage 1 are mainly taught about using technology safely and respectfully and keeping things private. And Key Stage 2, it's just going a little bit further with that and how they could do good behaviour online and ways they could report concerns. And there is Key Stage 3 and 4, which is secondary school, on there as well, what they would do if they went out into the next school. So, like Nikki said, we're not here to scare you from using the internet because it's not all bad. There are a lot of positives about the internet. The fact children are playing online games, it's enhancing the teamwork and their creativity, it's helping children learn. They usually perform better at school if they've got computers in the house, improves their education, their social skills, and they're able to express themselves. All that stuff is really useful about the internet. So just like everything else as the kids grow up, from like their development, like if they're learning to ride a bike or swim, obviously we usually, and you as parents, will guide and support your children. So it's no different with their online lives. We should be guiding and supporting them and helping them. So the best online safety strategy, regardless if they're young or older, is to sort of just explore the online world together, talk with your children, see what they're doing online and who they're doing it with. Some of the negatives, though, are things such as it can disturb their sleep if they are on their phones or tablets at night, because the blue light can affect their sleep. Screen-based entertainment can eventually increase. It can make them more forgetful. Millennials are often more forgetful because they've got that limited attention span because everything is usually on a screen and right there. And a study actually found they are more distracted and they're less able to do sort of empathy because everything is online and not in person. There we go. There's just a few things that would be good to talk about, or some tips. So I'll briefly go through them. It's just most children do have a social media profile now in some form. Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, all those. And we know they're using them. So it's just about what to talk with your children. That sometimes children sometimes children or adults are using fake profiles, so they might not be who they say they are. Maybe not responding to requests from people they don't know in real life, not meeting up with people they don't know. Things like that they can talk to a trusted adult if anything upsets them online, at school or at home. Think carefully about what they're sharing online and being responsible online. And we do talk about all this stuff at school in our computing lessons as well, but it'd be useful if it's at home as well. And you can see just over there, it says 50% of children say someone has been nasty to them online in some way. So that could be messages, pictures, or some sort.
I think it's also about maybe having some sort of agreement with children. You know, it doesn't have to be a long agreement, but just agreeing with children. Of course, they can use the internet, but for how long, when, and also for the adults in the house as well. So you go into an agreement as well, because, you know, as a parent, we don't want to be on our online tablets, phones, etc. for long periods of time and ignore the children. So it's coming up with those shared agreements together and sticking to them and explaining to children why there's an agreement. So as Mr. Bright's just said, you know, they need to learn how to keep themselves safe and keep themselves away from danger, and having agreement is part of that.
So obviously we know, kids know all this stuff by heart now. A lot of the ways they speak is sometimes not even with words, because we've got emojis, pictures, all sorts. So sometimes there are hidden meanings behind the emojis. Now, I didn't know all of these, I knew some of them, but using emojis like these ones on the screen, they all have special like meanings or messages. So you might see these on your child's phone and not actually be sure what it means, but it's the way they are communicating with each other. So these emojis, for example, can have different meanings, like the frog means ugly, the peach means bum, etc. So they can be having those conversations without us even knowing with just these pictures. So it could just be a message with the emojis by themselves. Usually this is older children, stage 2 or higher, but it is starting to get younger and younger as they're learning it. And emojis are growing. It says it's like the world's fastest growing language at the moment. It's how children speak. Less and less words, more pictures. There's just some, I mean, you'll probably be familiar with some of these. There's some of the apps and games that children are on at the moment, social media, games, all sorts. So think what your children might be doing online. Are they watching videos on YouTube, playing online games like Roblox or Fortnite, using apps like TikTok, Facebook, Instagram to post things? Or they might also be using apps relevant to school like Spelling Shed, Times New Rock, stuff, those things. We're not going to talk about every single app today, because there are hundreds, but we're going to talk generally about what they are using and how they can stay safe. Here's some facts about children using technology. So in general, younger ones, nursery reception age, 52% of them go online for about 9 hours a week. And only 1% of the social media profile, which is still a little bit concerning. When you get up into key stage 1, so years 1, 2, it's getting higher. So 67% go online for 9.5 hours a week, and now 4% have social media. And then as you get older and older, key stage 2, 93% go online for 13 hours a week, and more are getting social media profiles. And then obviously as they go to teens, almost all of them are online constantly every week. So there's just some of the apps that you may have seen your kids have. I didn't know all these apps myself, so I had to look up some of these apps, but some of them will be familiar to you. It's just, do you know, when you're looking at a child's phone or a tablet, do you know apps that are games, social media, or any other sort of type of thing? So obviously you've got things like Facebook, Instagram, which you're probably familiar with, but some of these I had to look up because I had no idea what they were myself. But these are all current apps kids are accessing in some way. So there's what they are. So you've got your social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, and then you have got your games like Minecraft, Roblox, Fortnite, and then you do have others that are like chatting things, like YouNow is like a going live streaming service with followers. So it's like KIK, WhatsApp, they're all chat messaging, instant messaging sort of apps. But if there's ever an app you're not sure of that your kids have, there are loads of websites and resources that will tell you what they are. Just at the bottom there, it says NSPCC. They are really good at explaining what an app is, its risks, what it's for. And we've used that at school a few times when we've had to look up a game or an app. This is just reiterating what I said a bit earlier about children going online. This was sort of a study about year 4 and 5 and 6 children. And it's just the older they get, you can see they're using the apps more and more and more. So year 4 and 5, boys and girls, using these apps about once a week. But then when they're going up to year 6 and 7, it's going to multiple times a day using Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, etc. So as they get older, it just becomes more common to be on those apps all the time, almost a little bit addictive for them to check them constantly. On the side are sort of the apps where we see most of the problems that we're talking about today. So Instagram, WhatsApp, TikTok, some games. Those do change. obviously going with trends of what children want to be on, but they are the current ones at the moment, and there could be other ones too. I'll pause here for a moment if either of you two have any questions about anything to do with that. If not, I'll carry on.
Just take yourself off mute if you have any questions. Are you okay for us to carry on then?
Okay, so social media, we know children do have social media, so if they are going to be using social media profiles, it's just talking to them about how they can stay safe on it. So things like using a good password, not posting personal information like addresses, schools, knowing how they can block and report people if anyone's ever being unkind to them, making sure their social media profiles are set to private because they are younger. So all those things, not accepting people, not accepting friend requests from strangers, are all useful things to chat about with your child to keep them as safe as they can be online. I'm sure we probably know these apps anyway, but in general, these are the apps most children are using: Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. In case you're not familiar with them, Snapchat is mainly taking pictures, taking videos, and it turns into conversations, and it turns into something called streaks, which I'll explain in a moment. And it usually, if it's a picture or video, it deletes itself after 24 hours. So the kids quite like it because nothing's saved. Instagram is all pictures, posting videos, and it's about like the picture perfect life, looking the best, that sort of thing. So some children, it makes them feel a little bit worse about themselves because they see all these like beautiful people on Instagram and they want to look like them. Facebook is not being used as much anymore with children. It's less and less, but some children are still on it, and it's just about people are sort of separated into their little groups on there. And YouTube's brilliant. It's got loads of good videos on, but it's little things like the fact YouTube keeps playing. So if you're watching at bedtime, it auto plays the next video, so you get stuck in that loop of I'll watch another one. A bit like Netflix does, it just keeps going. So sometimes children get stuck in that loop, and then it disrupts their sleep. Yeah, Snapchat streaks, which I'm fairly certain are still a thing, so I'm not using Snapchat anymore. But Snapchat streaks are just when they're messaging their friend or sending a photo to their friends, it comes up as this little number next to their friend's name, and that's how many days they've been talking. So if they talk every day, that number keeps going up. So you can see the second one down, 226 days they've spoken for that many days in a row. If they miss a day, they lose their streak. So it does become that addictive nature of I want to keep my streak up, so they constantly are talking to their friend or messaging their friends, and when they get to certain numbers they get little emojis next to their name, so it does become almost a bit like competition really. So they've been quite popular with the children. We're talking about social media. Social media is very clever. It's designed to hook people into it, including children. So if they know an app or something is not doing well, they'll rebrand it. So TikTok, which is very big at the moment, all the kids know about it, talk about it. It used to be this one called Musical.ly on the left, which wasn't very well known at all. And because they weren't doing well, they completely rebranded it into TikTok, which is now really big and really popular. And then your apps like Instagram, Snapchat, the children like them because you can share photos, you can share videos, but Instagram promotes this sort of picture perfect look. So because it's full of filters, you can edit things. The people they follow that they watch on YouTube or something will obviously put up edited professional photos. So it starts to lead children as they get older into this low self-esteem, thinking they don't look good enough, or they need to look like this person, or why are these people all beautiful, why can't I look like that? So all these apps are sort of promoting this unrealistic body expectations, negative self-esteem. Apps like Facetune, where you can completely change your face look, becoming really popular, especially with teenagers as they get older and older. On these apps like Instagram, obviously they've got hashtag symbols, at symbols. Hashtags are things like the trends that are going around, and it links you to other pictures. So if there's a hashtag, if it's said like hashtag holiday, you click on the hashtag, it will send you to everyone else that's hashtagged that picture, so it can link you to other accounts and things. If there's ever like a hashtag or something that you feel is not appropriate for your child, or your child doesn't want to see it, Instagram has a thing, you can unfollow hashtags. You've got these little 3 dots, you can unfollow them or report them if you think they're not appropriate. So you can sort of block hashtags from coming up for your children as well. Instant messaging, I mean, all the children are doing that, how they communicate with each other or family members. Obviously, it's become really big during lockdowns. Most of them are using things like WhatsApp because it's secure and they can message each other. But there are still apps like KIK, K-I-K, which I don't think is used much anymore, but that one's deemed a bit more unsafe because you can get on it without giving a phone number or name or anything. You can just download it and you're on it. So there's been more issues on apps like that because anyone can get on it. They don't have to say if they are. Whereas WhatsApp, you have to have a phone number and you can accept or block people. This has been quite a recent thing, especially during the COVID year when everything's been online. Fake news is quite a big thing with our children. More than half of the teenagers and kids, they only get their news from their social media sites. They're not watching the news we might be watching or reading a newspaper. So all their information is coming from Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. So sometimes, or quite often actually, 41% of the time, the news reported is usually not quite the truth, or it's someone's twist on it. So they're getting twisted fake news sometimes that can worry them. We've had a few instances all before where people have been saying this is going around, like a rumour's going around or something, and it's not, because it's been reported on a social media site. And because you have apps that you can do like face swaps and stuff, so you can potentially like, you know, there was that video at Christmas of the Queen's speech where Channel recorded a parody of it as the Queen. That was that sort of tech where people thought it was real, but it was an app mimicking her. So some people will believe it's true.
Do you have any questions at this point? If you do, just take yourself off mute and ask, otherwise we'll carry on. Okay, then on to the next bit.
Okay, so games. I mean, this will be throughout school years. They're all playing their games. Fortnite was the biggest one recently. I think that's dying down a little bit now. But games, Fortnite, Grand Theft Auto, Call of Duty, etc. It's just about being aware what those games include, and do you know what your child is playing. So Fortnite, for example, it's given a rating of 12 years old just because it's got some mild violence in, it's not really suitable for under 12. If you are letting your children play these games, just being aware what's part of them. Like Grand Theft Auto has lots of inappropriate content. It's 18 plus, I think is the age. There are things, you know, it's violent, there's all sorts of sexual content, etc., that they can be accessing. But it might be things like you're not aware of that these games have these in. So going on those sites, like that NSPC site, just to check what's in the game, it will tell you all these things that are part of it, because you might not have known this stuff, because you might not be there when your child is playing that game. Games always have a little rating on, which just means the age they think is suitable. And the people who have made the game come together to decide what age is best for it. So it's usually an appropriate age rating for it. This is something we are seeing quite a lot more with children these days, is cyberbullying. So bullying in itself, like how it used to be probably when we were at school, where it was physical bullying or being called names or unkind things, that's sort of dying down. It's not happening as much anymore. But cyberbullying is becoming almost the new bullying now. It's where they are doing the same repetitive, intentional hurting or unkind things, but online. So sending horrible messages or posting photos and taking the mick out when they didn't have permission or something like that. That is becoming more and more and more. And teenagers say the worst app for it is Instagram, but then they had a few others like Snapchat's quite big for it, WhatsApp's quite big for it. And we are seeing more and more children who are saying they're experiencing unkind things online from people, either at school or not at school. It's just a little bit different from bullying because it's really hard to escape, because if you're being bullied at school, you could have a safe place or you could be playing with someone else. But if it's online, it's always there. It's instantly getting to them. It can be going for 24 hours. If they're getting messages, it can be going off all night next day. And it's really popular with the people who are doing bullying because you can be completely anonymous. If you're making fake profiles and stuff, you might not know who it is that is doing it to you. There's just some general tips about staying safe online. We've said a few of these before, but just make sure they're keeping their personal information private and know what information not to share. Make sure they know how to block and report if there's ever anything they don't like. Make sure they know who to talk to. Are they always posting stuff that is nice and kind online? And just that they can go speak to an adult if they're ever unsure about anything. I mean, we tell them at school, they've got loads of adults to speak to, both at school and home, if they ever want to check something they're not too sure about. Now there's a few more tips. So, like I said at the start, don't say to your kids that they can't go on the internet, because it is a really, really good tool. It's just how to stay safe with them. So it might be just engaging with them, using that technology with them, or looking it up yourself so you can see what it is about, what that game's about, what that app's about. Maybe talking to other parents who have ever had any of these issues, because they might know things, and just being a little bit more open-minded about technology. It is good. We use it at school in lessons and things, and it's amazing. And children do enjoy some of these games and these apps, because obviously during all these lockdowns, they could speak to their friends, they could see their friends, but it is just that, are they staying safe? And just thinking about how you're using the internet too, like, are you leading a really good example to the children what you're doing? I mean, here, this was quite interesting, was a primary school kid, not from our school, from that school, primary school kid from the school, who at school was writing something about how he wished mum's phone was never invented. And he's saying he hates mum's phone because she's always on her phone and never takes the time to talk to me. So sometimes it might be thinking, oh, like at the end of the day, when I pick up my children, shall I put my phone down so my children can speak to me? Because I know my children all want to go and tell their parents instantly how their day's been. And sometimes you do have parents who are on their phones, and we're all guilty of it. I mean, I'm on my phone as much as anyone else, but it is sometimes maybe having phone-free hour, or put your phone down at dinner time and have a chat with your family. And that's the website I've been saying mostly. It's called NSPCC Net Aware. It's a really good website for telling you about apps, games, or just giving you advice. So, like here, 5 ways to keep children, to help children play safe online. It will give you tips. If it's an app you look up, it will tell you the risks and the inappropriate stuff on it, or what age it is. So that's really good. We've used that a few times at school to look up some things. And just like Nikki said, you might want to be setting up times children are using their technology, their tablets, their phones. So Apple, that's this iOS one here, have their own way of doing that. It's called screen time. And you can, as a parent, you can set that up on your kids' phone so you stop letting them on after a certain point, like bedtime or something. And if you don't have an Apple device, Google do their own app. It's called Google Family Link, which you can download, and it's exactly the same. You can set times they're allowed on, or times they can play a game till or something. And it only takes about 10 minutes, so it's really good if you know your kids are sneakily on their phones all night or something, maybe setting those things so they can stop and have a bit more restful sleep. Has everyone any questions?
So thank you so much for listening to that. thank you, Dan, for putting all that together, all that information. I think listening to all that, the main thing as adults we need to do is just be aware of what is out there online, be aware of what our children want to go on and are going on, and understand as much as we can as adults so that we can guide the children on how to keep safe. I just want to reinforce again that, you know, we are not saying children shouldn't be online. Of course they should be online. There are so many wonderful things about going online, learning, life skills, all sorts of things. But it's just making sure they're safe online and teaching them how to be safe online. So it's working with the children. In school, we work with the children all the time to try and get them to understand how to keep themselves safe. And again, it's making sure your child has safe adults that they can go to if they are worried about anything. We talk about that in school. It's called protective behaviours. Children know who their safe adults are, and it's reinforcing to them that if they are ever worried about anything, to talk to one of those safe adults to put their concerns over.
Hello, thank you ever so much for joining, and thank you, Dan and Nikki, for doing this. I hope you found it helpful. We are aiming to put this on our school YouTube site, and I hope, is it okay, we need your consent really, because I don't know if your video, will their faces be on the YouTube thing? Because I'm just thinking, because Ethan's mum, I just need your consent really, so we'll email you or ring you to speak to you about that. But thank you so much for joining us. I hope you found it helpful, and I think the fact that it's going on YouTube as well, parents will be able to access it at other points, or perhaps you could show your children the PowerPoint and some of the slides that Mr. Bright was talking about, and use the PowerPoint yourself to enable your conversations together. So thanks again, and we will be doing other sessions about all different aspects of online safety and using the internet in a way that's helpful to everyone. So thanks again, and we'll go now, but I will get in touch with Ethan's mum. All right, thank you, take care.
Yeah, that's my last.